Hello and welcome back to another video on high altitude investing. My name is Dallin Anderson and I'm very excited to talk about a coin that I think could do extremely good percentage gains this cycle. This coin is a little bit higher risk with higher reward, so it's one that I personally wouldn't be putting my entire portfolio in or doing anything crazy, but I do want to mention it right now because I did mention this coin, actually a coin very similar to this in the last cycle, and it did extremely good percentage gains, and it's actually created by the same person. So without further ado, if you're not a subscriber to my channel already, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and we'll get straight into today's video. All right, guys, so we're here on Deck Screener, and I want to start off by showing you basically the full cycle. Just as we always do, we want to start off with the full market cycle. You guys can see here, this actually did a full retracement. Normally, when we're looking at these coins, we do have the 5 waves up and the ABC correction. In this case, we pretty much just get this correction. You can see the pump, but there isn't data or history to show the full cycle before the pump. So we get this ABC correction down here, and that ABC correction did lead to a breakout. You can see, let's draw the ABC. We have an A wave here, a B wave right here, and a C wave down to there. Then we get the beginning of that new cycle, and that did result in a pump. You can see that PulseChain did do a very nice pump here. And if you guys don't know what PulseChain is, so back in the last cycle, I mentioned this coin named Hex on my Twitter account. And I let people know that I felt like Hex was going to do a really, really big move because of a cup and handle pattern that I was looking at. Now, as you guys know, we don't trade fundamentals really on this channel. We're aware of them, but the main thing that we look for is chart patterns. So in the last cycle in 2021, I saw this chart pattern on Hex, and I just knew, the Hex was going to see a big move up. It did go ahead and see a huge move from this cup and handle pattern out. You guys can see here that Hex did insane gains after that. In fact, that was really just the very beginning of the bull market. It did just incredible gains after that cup and handle pattern. So the reason we're looking at PulseChain is 2 reasons. Number 1, the same person that created Hex created PulseChain. His name is Richard Hart. Now, we're not going to get into a whole discussion about him or fundamentals or anything like that, but we do trade chart patterns on this channel. And I'm here to tell you guys right now that PulseX is an amazing setup. This is an amazing chart pattern. We're starting to get the beginning of a reversal. We're starting to see the beginning of a new market cycle. And I believe, just in the same way that Hex did this insane pump in the last cycle, that we will get a PulseChain pump this cycle, which is absolutely going to blow people away. So what that could look like, you guys, in the short term, we'll talk about that in a second. But what I really want to show you here is the bigger picture. What that could look like is we could find support here. We could pull back a little bit lower, find support, or we could always basically find support where we're at. And then we can push up through that short-term resistance here and really start to do a big rounded structure. So let's go ahead and look at a different setup here because I want to show you what this can look like. So if we go back here on Bitcoin in 2015, this is pretty similar to what I'm looking for with with PulseChain. So you guys can see here on Bitcoin, we do have that huge pump, then we get that ABC correction, then it starts to break out, right? but it has to build momentum. Bitcoin had to find support, again, had to find support, it had to build momentum before it broke out. In that same way, I think Hex looks really similar to Bitcoin back in 2015, where it starts to break out into its bull market here. It's pulling back a little bit, finding support, but overall it's rounding out in the big picture, just like how Bitcoin did in 2015, 2016, 2017. You can see this huge rounded structure. In order for it to make that structure, it did have to pull back multiple different times onto major support levels. You can see it pulled back multiple different times. But overall, the structure of the market was this huge rounded structure, which later led to one of the biggest bull markets in Bitcoin history from a perspective of percentage gain. So that was really incredible what came after that big rounded structure on Bitcoin. I think PulseChain could do the same thing. The guy that created this coin knows how to pump coins. It's just plain and simple. He pumped Hex to the moon last cycle. Now, that's the main reason I'm interested in PulseChain, is because of the chart pattern, because I know that these chart patterns are extremely effective for being able to do 10, 20 times, 30 times, 50 times, depending on the setup, in percentage gain. Now, just in the same way last cycle when I mentioned Hex, you guys, Hex was one of those coins that I saw as being very high risk, very high reward. I see this kind of similar perspective with PulseChain. Not everybody may agree with me, but because of the market cap size, because of the way that it is, I think it's a little bit of a higher risk project. I'm not saying it's going to go down. I'm just saying, like, from an investor perspective, the risk is higher than maybe some of the other coins out there. But the reward is also extremely high, extremely high. And so from an opportunity perspective, somebody that looks for opportunity, that's really interested in finding those good setups, finding those projects that are providing those 30 times, 50 times potential gains, that's why I'm watching for PulseChain. So yeah, I do think PulseChain could do extremely good here in the big picture. I think that big rounded structure is something, well, I know it is. It's something we've seen over and over in the crypto markets. And I think that it's going to repeat here on PulseChain, and we're going to make a lot of money on this cycle. So I'm loving the setup on PulseChain. It does look so much like Bitcoin that it actually is kind of mind-blowing to me, because when Bitcoin broke out to $500 here, it pulled back a little bit and found support. I think PulseChain could be doing the same thing right here. It might pull back a little bit in the short term. It could go back down just a little bit more here. But really, I think the direction it's going to head here is up. You know, in the big picture, I think the direction it's going to head is up. And whatever happens in the short term, if we pull back a little bit more, if we find support, cool. We are on the 618 level. So from the swing low to the swing high, we did test that 618 level, which is a sign of strength. It could hold. It could start going up from current price. That's not what we're looking for on this channel. It's not what we're focused on, is what's going to happen over the next week or month or two. But what we are focused on is that big picture rounded bottom structure, just in the same way that we were seeing it back in the day on Bitcoin. Because I watched this happen. And the same thing happened again on Bitcoin in 2020, 2021, 2020, this whole area here. You can see this huge rounded structure on Bitcoin. Again, rounded bottom structure, which led to a massive impulse, a massive breakout, and insane gains. And I see the same thing with PulseChain, the same setup. And you guys, like I said, Hex is one that I mentioned in the last cycle before it pumped beyond people's wildest dreams. I posted on my Twitter about it, in my Discord. It pumped like crazy after that because of the same kind of psychology little bit of a different place in their cycles, but the same kind of psychology. I'm telling you right now, PulseChain has the potential to just completely blow people away this cycle. Yes, maybe you don't want to go all in on it. That's up to you. Personally, on this channel, I highly encourage risk management and position sizing. But I think it's going to do really good. I think PulseChain is going to blow people away. We're going to see a huge reversal here, and it's going to be a big, big project. So I'm super excited about this chart pattern here on PulseChain. You guys do your own research and stuff as always, but this channel is really about how to see those opportunities in the big picture. So I'm here to show you the opportunity, not here to talk about fundamentals, not here to talk about anything like that. But you guys, the opportunity is definitely here. It's definitely right here, right in front of our faces, ready to be taken advantage of and really capitalized on. And also, you guys, a lot of big people are talking about this, big YouTubers, people that really know what they're doing are talking about PulseChain. So that is definitely something that should put it under your radar as well. So yeah, I know it's not normally the kind of coin that we talk about on this channel. A lot of times we're talking about those coins that are more established, like Litecoin, Ethereum, or Bitcoin, or whatever, right? We're talking about those ones a lot more. But I felt that I needed to mention it because I have a feeling that it's going to do the same thing that Hex did in the last cycle after I mentioned Hex, not because I mentioned it, but because of the psychology. And I think that I would pretty much be kicking myself later if I don't mention PulseChain on this channel before the pump, because I think it's going to be big. So super excited about PulseChain, you guys. Definitely a really, really good looking setup here on PulseChain. And for the people that are wondering, because I know a lot of you guys are wondering, okay, I like PulseChain, but I also have original Hex or I have Ethereum Hex. And if you guys want, we'll just quickly run over technical analysis on these two. So yeah, I know a lot of you guys are holding either the original Hex, which was built on Ethereum, or the new Hex, which was built on PulseChain. So we'll go ahead and do some analysis on these real quick. So this is the Hex that's built on PulseChain, and it's very similar. Basically, people got given Hex built on PulseChain for trading for their Hex built on Ethereum. So they were able to exchange their original Hex for the new Hex when PulseChain came out. Because PulseChain is a fork of Ethereum. And so when they forked, they said, you know what? We are using original Ethereum to build original Hex. Let's use PulseChain to build the new Hex. So that's why you get two coins called Hex. One of them we call eHex, Ethereum Hex. And then the new Hex is the new Hex or just Hex, right? I know it's a little confusing, you guys, but just bear with me. So yeah, this is the new Hex. This is the PulseChain Hex. For you guys that know the community, you already know all of this. But for you guys that don't know this stuff, do your own research. So the new Hex looks really good. This looks like a triangle breakout. You guys can see we have this really, really nice triangle breakout pattern, which I think will continue. I think we're going to keep finding support. We're going to keep pushing higher here. And this triangle breakout will lead to a lot of upside with Hex, with the PulseChain version of Hex. Now, with the original version of Hex, you can see it had a pretty big dump when they made PulseChain and when they made the new Hex. But overall, there's still a lot of buying pressure down here because a lot of people are still invested in the original Hex, or they're staking in the original Hex, or they've locked funds away in the original Hex. So there's a lot of buying pressure here. You can see these bullish engulfing candlesticks. That's a lot of sign of buying pressure, a big sign of buying pressure. You can also see here that we have a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. So that's another bullish pattern. We have a neckline. I'd like to see us break above that neckline. If we do, then I think we'll see a lot of upside on the original hex as well. So yeah, you guys, that's my view on PulseChain, on original hex and the new hex. And I really, really believe these coins are going to do good. Super excited about their setups. I think the percentage gains are going to blow people away, and very, very, very excited about these coins. Hey, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you learned something and found value in it. If you did, please do me a favor and hit that like button, as well as sharing this video with your friends. Also, you guys, please check out the website, links in the description box below, so you can learn more about VIP. Look forward to seeing you guys in those future videos. And as always, stay profitable out there.